Welcome to the Jan Meeuwsen Garden Show on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC. It's your opportunity to learn more about your garden and your yard, about dealing with pests, and about taking care of the birds. You can be part of the show with your questions at 395-1450. That's 395-1450. And now, from DeBryun Seeds on Washington Avenue in Zeeland, here's the Master Gardener, Jan Meeuwsen.
And good morning, everybody. What a beautiful, beautiful day. Hey, I don't know how much rain we got last night. I didn't think it was a whole lot. I think I still have to water today, but what a lovely, the weather is so much better today than it was yesterday. My joints can actually move again. I don't know at what point in time during the night that finally happened, but oh my goodness, it was horrible yesterday, and today is fine. So I'm so happy we got rid of that horrible, horrible weather. It's not too bad. It's a great time to be outside. It's a little warmish, but at least it's not as humid as it has been, and it's not going to get as hot as it was yesterday either. So let's just all be thankful. Thank God for that. And we've got a little nicer weather coming up, so we can enjoy the beautiful sunshine and everything. I don't think rain's in the forecast anytime soon, so let's get out there and enjoy the weather. The phone lines are open, 616-395-1450. 616-395-1450 is the number to call. I want to remind you that Windmill Island and MSU Extension are bringing one of their 2023 Smart Gardening presentations at Windmill Island, and it's going to be Wednesday, August 9, between 6 and 7:30 p.m. The theme of the night is Gardening on the Straight and Narrow, and Rebecca Finneman from the MSU Extension, she's a senior horticulturist. She is going to present it, and she's going to talk about, those narrow spots that you've got, like between like a sidewalk and a driveway, or, the garage and the next door neighbor's lot line. Everyone's got at least one on their lot. She's going to talk about how to design them, what to plant there, and, kind of take notes on this one. She'll tell you exactly what you need to plant, sunny, shady, whatever. She's always a very interesting speaker. I've listened to her a lot of times. She always very readily takes questions. So if you want to attend, you need to go on to the msu.edu extension, MSU Extension, and then go to events and sign up. It's $10. And you need to reserve your spot. You have to do it by the day of, August 9. So they're not too fussy. I know there is a limited amount of people that can be in the class. So I would probably, if you want to do it, I would do it now and reserve your spot. Again, that's August 9 between 6 and 7:30, and it is at Windmill Island. You do get free admission to Windmill Island to go to do the class, and it is beautiful there right now, so you should just go just to, take a picnic dinner there and do that, as well as go to the classes. So I think it would be an interesting one. And then the next thing that's going on, and this is going on at MSU at the Horticultural Gardens, and it's Bee Palooza. I don't know if anyone's gone to it. I went to it one year. It has been it was discontinued for a couple of years due to COVID. It is now back. It's going to be on Sunday, August 13th from 1 to 4 p.m. in the afternoon at the Horticultural Gardens. They have, everything bee related is there. They've got a lot of booths. You can bring the kids or the grandkids. This is a fun event for them. I mean, they do face painting, there's balloons, there's everything, but it's all kind of related back to bees. They'll show you how to, start your own beehive, what you need to do. They've got hives there to look at. It is really a fun event. There's a lot of vendors there. So Yes, and then while you're there, run through the horticultural gardens too. See all the stuff that's there. It is incredible. The middle of the summer right now is just a wonderful time to be there. Everything is in bloom right now. The gardens themselves, the vegetable gardens are growing and producing vegetables. It is a marvelous place to be, and having Bee Palooza there is just a little added event. So you get to go to the gardens, run in there, see Bee Palooza. I think that would be fun. Again, it is Sunday, August 13 from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Horticultural Gardens and the MSU campus. It's right off Bogue Drive there. We used to call it Bogue Street. I don't know if it's Bogue Drive or Bogue Street, but that's where it is. Easy to get to. It's kind of on the one end, the south end of MSU, kind of near the railroad tracks. In fact, railroad tracks border the garden there. So if you know MSU, you would know where it was. It is right across the street from the MSU Vet Clinic. So if you know where that is, and of course, that's where I spent 99% of my time when I was at MSU. So I know where that is with my eyes closed. So yes, have a fun time. Get out there to Bee Palooza. Okay, now what's going on around our world is either you see no Japanese beetles whatsoever, or they are invading your house, your home, your life. That seems to be the two extremes that we have right now. So, Japanese beetle, we're on red alert for those things. They eat like everything in your garden. You'll know if you have them. They are the copper colored beetle with a green head on it, about an inch long. They are just voracious eaters, and it's not just one per leaf. There'll usually be like 3 or 4 of them busy chomping away, and they can make all of the leaves look like lace. Once the leaves, tissue is gone, there's no place for that leaf to make chlorophyll to bring it down to feed the plant, so the plant's basically dead. So we need to get rid of those things. We do have Japanese beetle traps that would hopefully take them out of your garden and into the trap. That's our hope. We also have sprays that are safe to use in your garden. There's spinosad for the organic. There's bifenthrin if you want to really get rid of them. They're just a nuisance this time of year. By the end of August, we're going to go, why were we so worried? They're nowhere near here anymore. But they're going to lay those eggs in our lawn that turn into those awful grubs. So get the 24-hour BioAdvance season-long grub killer out, not the 24-hour one. We need the season-long grub killer out on the lawn. Water it in well, and that will put a barrier so the eggs that the beetles lay do not turn into grubs this fall and again next spring. So get the season-long grub killer down now. If you had done the GrubX earlier in the year, that's fine. You don't need to do the season-long grub killer, but if you haven't done anything yet, you need to do it. The beetles are out, believe me, and they don't just, lay their eggs right where they are. They do fly on the wind. So if the neighbors have them really bad, you could have them really bad by next year. So make sure you get the season-long grub killer out on your lawn and water it in well. It does degrade in the sunlight, so we need to water it in so it gets in the ground. Once it's in the ground, it works extremely well. So that's your biggest thing you really have to do this week. Get that season-long grub control down. And we've been talking about this all season. Calcium. We need calcium around our tomatoes. People are bringing in tomatoes with blossom end rot. We don't need to have that happen if you get enough calcium around your plant and you keep your plants well watered. So don't let them dry out between waterings. You might want to put some mulch around them or something. But get calcium down there. You need to get calcium up into that plant. That works. We do have calcium nitrate that you can just put around the tomatoes. We have small bags of that. There's calcium in the tomato tone. There's calcium in I think the Miracle Grow for tomatoes also has calcium in it. So look at fertilizers, see if there's calcium in it. If there is, that's usually plenty for your tomatoes and your peppers and your squash. They can all get calcium or the blossom end rot. So get that done now. And get your tomato plants. Go out there with a little scissors or a little shears of some sort and cut out all the suckers. The suckers are something between the straight growing upright main branch. You get branches coming off at like a 45-degree angle. The things that are growing in between that 45-degree angle, those are suckers, and that takes a lot of energy out of the plant to grow that sucker. So cut it off. We want the energy going to our main branches off the main shoot to get the most tomatoes. So if you're going to complain about I don't have enough tomatoes on my plant, get out there and clean out all the suckers on your plant. Not that hard to do. It's very easy. Every once in a while I get one that gets way out of control, and then I got a great big long one. But normally I can get it when they're quite small. Very easy to cut off. You don't have to do anything after you cut it off. It will heal by itself. But get those suckers off. It doesn't pay to put all that energy into all the suckers when it could be going into making more tomatoes. So that's another thing that you need to do this week. Again, and you might want to, if the tomato plants are trying to fall out of their cages, you may want to try tie them up a little bit. Remember, tomatoes are a vine. They don't necessarily grow straight up. They're not a tree. So you need to tie them up. And it's basically to keep the tomatoes up off the ground. I decided one year I wasn't going to put my tomato cages up because it was way too much bother, or maybe I forgot about it or did something else when it needed to be done. And my tomatoes kind of roamed all over the garden. And I'll tell you, I shared more tomatoes with mice than I really care to tell you. Everything had a couple little gnaw marks on them where somebody was eating. Oh, that was so irritating. So I now stake them up. So I just have to worry about the birds every once in a while taking a little peck off them, or the tomato hornworm. And do go out there and examine your tomatoes for those worms. I swear you can go out one day and you can look and there won't be a worm on there. And then the next day you go out there and it's 4 inches long and it's like as thick as your thumb. And how in the world did I miss this thing? So yes, you have to pull it off. You can pick it off yourself. And we used to cut them in half and throw them in a soup can of gasoline, but whatever way you like to get rid of them, but you need to pick them off. We need to stop and take a break. Adam is telling me that I have been talking too long, so we will stop, take a break, but we'll be back with the Garden Show after these messages.
Let's get back to the Jan Meeuwsen Garden Show. Call the Master Gardener from DeBryun Seeds in Zeeland now at 395-1450. Once again, here's Jan Meeuwsen.
And we are back. Phone lines are open, 616-395-1450. 616-395-1450 is the number to call. We've been talking about the things you need to get done this week. Because of that hot, humid weather that we had for the last few days, it might be advantageous on your part to get out with a fungicide spray and spray your garden, spray some of your flower beds. I would spray the black-eyed Susans for sure, zinnias for sure. That hot, humid weather is going to do nothing but, get those fungal diseases going, and they get powdery mildew in the black-eyed Susans and the zinnias at the drop of a hat. So I would get out there with a spray and spray them down. It is much easier to prevent it. You can't really cure the things, but you can prevent it from spreading later. But hey, if you put it down before it even starts, before it even thinks, well, it's probably thinking about doing something, you get that fungicide spray, you don't have to worry about it anymore. So I would get out there and spray. I was going to spray my roses this afternoon also, just because of that hot, humid weather. And my roses, they have just taken over. And so I'm going to have to, every time I go out there to cut them, they are so pretty, but they've taken over all of the space that they need, and now they're going up and wacky directions now. They need to be trimmed, but I just don't have the heart when you go out there and they're all full of buds everywhere and blooms, and they're full of thorns. I don't want to do that, but because of they're so packed in there now, get the fungicide spray and get that on there right now, just to prevent any diseases from showing up later on. That would be good. If you've got some raspberries or blueberries, and they've already been germinated, they've already been pollinated, get some row cover over them. So you don't get that spotted wing Drosophila. It's a little fruit fly that lays its eggs on the developing fruit, and then once it grows and it matures, it's got that maggot inside, and if you cut the fruit open, you can just see it waving at you. It's not fun. So, get those rows covered on raspberries, so you don't get that problem. And there's more than one generation of the spotted wing Drosophila. So if you think, oh, I've got it under control, no. I think they can have up to 9 generations per summer. So it can just keep, they can just keep, maturing and then flying off and laying more eggs, and then, just goes, that vicious circle goes really way too fast. So, get your raspberries, blueberries, whatever you've got going, get them sprayed and cover them up so it doesn't come up. It also helps, if you cover up some of your crops like broccoli and cabbage, so those little white moths don't lay their eggs on your produce, and then you get those little tiny little inchworms eating your broccoli and your cabbage, and they're really hard to see until you soak them in salt water before you cook them. It's a bad thing. So do get those things covered, get them sprayed so you don't have that problem. And also, we got to think about fall crops, our fall garden. If you want to get broccoli, Brussels sprouts, or cabbage in for the fall, you got to get those seeds in the ground now. We're way at the final throes of getting those seeds in that they would develop in time to harvest them in the fall. So if you want to do those for the fall, you need to get them in now. Let's do that now. The other things like spinach, peas, lettuce, kale, that sort of stuff, peas, I think I've mentioned those. They can be put in mid to end of August for a fall crop. They don't need to take near as long of a time. So we can get that stuff all set to go. My beans, I usually plant my peas once my beans are done, but my beans are just going great blazes right now. They love that hot, humid weather. I have never seen plants with so many blossoms on it. I'm doing, what am I doing? I'm doing Carson yellow and Lewis green beans, and they're both pretty much the same height. They look like they're the same bean when you just look at the plant. But, the Carsons are pretty yellow, and the green beans are growing like crazy right now. They loved that hot weather. So, but once they're done, then I pull them out, and then I put peas in their place for fall. It just works out that way. It's always kind of nice to have some fall crops because you don't have to worry about too many bugs. That's the best thing about it. You're not going to have to worry about a Japanese beetle invasion or, aphids coming in or whatever you've got going on. you don't really have to worry about that in the fall. The days are getting shorter. The insects have probably, reverted to, reproduction period rather than eating. So it's just a much more laid back garden in the fall than it ever is in the summer. The garden is, there's always work to be done, always something to do, always something to be weeded, always something to be watered, always something to be sprayed, always insects to be taken care of. And in the fall, it's none of that. You don't have to worry about any of that sort of stuff. So, I always wondered why, in the spring everyone's got to put in a garden. And I always think, why don't they just wait till fall? It's just such a much nicer, laid back garden, because right now the weeds are just taking over the garden bed. So you really have to get out there and do weed the garden. The little hoe you can kind of get in between, or even like a little garden claw that you can get in between the plants and then down the rows. It's best to get rid of the weeds. The weeds are where the insects are gonna kind of congregate, and then they're gonna go out to your plant. Diseases kind of end up in those weeds too. So if you get rid of the weeds, and you get rid of a lot of your problems right then and there. And I know I hate weeding. I will be right up there with you when I have to do it. But if you just sit down and do it, it really isn't that hard to do if you have the right tools, and you just go around your plants, make sure you don't hurt your plants that you want to keep, and hopefully you have given them enough space between the plants so you can get between there and get all those weeds out. Those weeds are just taking nutrients out of the soil that could be going to your plants. So why are you keeping them there? My dad, the big thing right now, purslane is coming up right now, and it's kind of a fleshy little weed, kind of lays on the ground and kind of crawls on the ground, and it's got almost a succulent feeling leaf. Now, my dad would make us pull that out of the garden and make Mom cook it for dinner at least once every year. It's not that good. Believe me, I never cared for it. I thought it just should go on the compost pile, and hopefully with the weeds before it turned into seeds. But purslane, that is, it spreads quickly. It's really easy to pull. It's not one of those things that hangs on for dear life in the ground, and you need, 4 people behind you all pulling on you. This thing, you can just go down and just grab it with your hand and pull it up. And no, I don't take it in to cook it anymore, but you can if you like. I don't remember how my mom made it, so I can tell you how much I appreciated that meal when we had it. I don't know where my dad ever heard that it was edible, but then after that, boy, that was a treat in the garden. The garden gave you something edible, and you didn't have to do anything for it. But no, it's not that good. You could try it. I think my mom sauteed it, maybe a little shallots or something. I didn't think it had a whole lot of great flavor to it, and I know we don't digest cellulose very well, so I can't imagine we actually got much out of it. But hey, it helped my dad. He liked that. So get out there. Weed that garden right now. Get it weed free. You can throw some preen down once you've got it weed free, and then you don't have to worry about weeds coming back again. And then you'll think, why didn't I do this first thing in the spring? It's because you had too many other things to do. But once you get it weed free, then put the preen down. It will last through the fall, and you don't have to worry about more weeds coming up. You can put some mulch down on your rows, where you're walking in the garden, so that will keep down the weeds also. Because it's just not fun to get out in the garden and you can barely see where the plants are, because the weeds grow a lot faster than the plants do. So keep that in mind when you're out there. And sometimes it's hard, if you're in a flower garden, sometimes it's hard to think, is this a flower or is this a weed? We have a lot of people that bring in things that look like might be a daisy. A lot of them are not a daisy. They are weeds. But yes, if we can keep that down, that would be wonderful. Your plants will really appreciate it if you can give them a little bit of help there. Keep them watered now. We're not going to have rain again until probably Thursday or Friday. So make sure you keep your garden watered. They don't take a break from being watered, unfortunately. So yes, you got to get out there and water. And I honestly don't think we got enough water last night to really make a lot of good. So make sure you do water your things, and that would be wonderful. We need to stop and take a break because the news is coming up next. And so we have to get out of the way, but we'll be back with a garden show after that happens.
Let's get back to the Jan Meeuwsen Garden Show. Call the Master Gardener from DeBryun Seeds in Zeeland now at 395-1450. Once again, here's Jan Meeuwsen.
And we are back. Every Tuesday morning with Gary, I do an award section, and we always do like the insect of the week, fungus of the week. And, the small nuisance animal of the week. And I usually can pick one out that people have been complaining about during the week, like moles or maybe mice or rabbits or something. I cannot pick out one right now because it seems like these small mammals have made a big problem over the past couple of weeks. We have sold so many have-a-heart traps for groundhogs, raccoons, everything. You name it, we have sold have-a-heart traps for it. And these people come back in and go, hey, I got 4 groundhogs and the blah, 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 blah. I cannot believe how many nuisance animals are out there right now. We've just taken over their land so that they don't know where to go, so they're trying to live with us. That's all I can say. I can understand why you don't want the great big woodchuck holes in your yard. And I'm sure they don't really appreciate being in your yard either. I'm sure they'd rather be out in a farm field like they always were when I was growing up. And the tractor would get stuck in one of those holes. But I do remember that. But they would. I'm sure they'd rather be somewhere else. It's just been. I cannot believe. I mean, a friend of mine had a possum in her house of all the strange things. And you're like, how in the world did that get in the house? So maybe you want to go through your house and check out, let's walk. Well, first of all, let's walk around the house and make sure all the vegetation is away from the house. You've got one of the shrubs, they just they hit the house. Well, something can just walk over that little mouse and just go right up and under the siding, and, well, he's in the house. So let's get all of that cleaned up. Let's get, from the house out at least, 3 feet. It's clear. There's no vegetation there. Above, let's cut some branches off the trees. Please don't do that yourself if it's a large branch, please. If it involves getting up on top of the roof, that is never a good idea. So always hire someone to do that. But that also is just a highway for something to climb up a tree, up and over, and somehow get into your attic, and they're in your house. So let's get that all cleared up. Yes, Adam?
2 things. Well, I used to have a friend who said, yeah, I'm going to do my own tree work, and they went up on the roof with a chainsaw. And that's just a bad idea also.
Bad idea.
You can't bring up the nuisance animals without your favorite one, the chipmunk.
Oh, God.
I know you love them, Jan.
Hate those things. And everybody has those, too. We've sold so many of those little gotcha traps. Yes, one morning I went out to fill the feeders. And underneath my deck, where I've got a 2nd-story deck, and I'm out there filling up feeders, there's 2 rabbits, there's a chipmunk, there's like 10 ducks. There's no little birds. It's all these mammals and big birds. And I'm like, get out of here. That's not who I want to feed. Go away. And chipmunk, you're going to die. That's all I can say. You're, oh, they make such, they make holes and they make tunnels, and they actually can, like, if you've got like a little outbuilding or a little barn, they can make enough tunnels that it can collapse, that sort of thing. They can chew. If they've ever gotten into your garage, you would know it. They chew big time. Remember, they're just like little rats with big teeth, and they just like to chew. My neighbors feed them. They come over to my front porch. I am kidding you not, with their mouth full of peanuts, and they sit there and look into the house at me eating their peanuts. It's just like they're daring me to do something.
Sounds like they're taunting you, Jan.
Yes, they are. They just know I don't like them. They just sit and stare at me like, well, why don't you feed me these wonderful peanuts?
Well, I have the squirrels that come up on, because I live on a second floor apartment, so the squirrels can climb up. That's probably why I don't get the chipmunk problem. But if I'll leave peanuts out for the squirrels. But if there's no peanuts out, they'll actually come to my sliding door and kind of look in there at me, and they'll stare at me.
Yes,
they're like get up, come on, give me some peanuts, man.
What are you doing in bed? You got to get up and you got to feed me right now because I'm hungry right now. Yes, I thought it was just my cat that was like that. Otherwise, Adam's squirrels are like that. And my ducks are like that. But everybody's usually waiting because someone's going to drop something out of my feeders, and it's fair game for everyone to come rushing in and try grab it. But, it is. I'd love feeding things in the summer. But, I'll get home and there'll be a squirrel taking a bath in my bird bath, or taking a swim because he thinks it's a private swimming pool or whatever. But, yes, they all do enjoy that water. They enjoy it so much. I don't mind bringing water out every day and filling up my bird bath because it is a fun thing to watch. My cat loves watching it, and as long as he's sitting there watching the birds, he's not doing something to destroy the house inside. So I'm always happy about that. So, he doesn't seem to like bird TV. Our cat at work, Butterball, loves it if you turn on bird TV. He'll sit there and watch it for hours. It looks pretty boring to me, but he loves that. He doesn't get enough birds in front of by the windows he's at. He just gets to watch people walk by all the time. So for him to get to watch the birds, he loves it. So, every couple days I put on bird TV for him, and he'll just sit there and he'll enjoy himself watching that. Just the silly little things that we do. But I love watching the birds too. I love feeding the birds, but make sure you keep their feeders clean in the summer, especially during that hot, humid weather. If one bird is sick and goes to your feeder, it will transfer to a bunch of other birds, and we don't want that to happen. So keep it clean once a month or so. When it's way down, you take it down, empty out all the feed in there, dump it, and then clean it out with a real mild bleach solution. Let it dry completely, rinse it out well, let it dry completely, and then refill it and hang it back up, and it will be fine. I do that once a month with mine, and I'm always amazed at how dirty they get over the course of a month. But your hummingbird feeders too. Make sure when you take it in, I take mine in every 4 days or so. I dump what hasn't been drunk, whatever, and then I rinse it out really well and refill it. In the hot, humid weather, you might want to take it down and refill it more often, only because fungal problems can get in there, and it's not. You might not think that that's that horrible, but actually there's a bacteria that can get in those hummingbird feeders that makes the hummingbird's tongue swell, and he can't close or she can't close their mouths, and they starve to death. So we don't want that to happen either. So make sure your bird feeders and your hummingbird feeders are clean at all times. And again, we do have if your bird bath is kind of subject to getting a lot of moss and algae in it, we do have a bird bath protector that you can put in there that will help prevent that sort of thing. I've just got this really slick bird bath that I can just tip it over and I can kind of wash it out every day and then add fresh water. Fresh water is the key. They do like that. I do have a couple of stones that I put in there. For some of the birds, they don't like to, because my bird bath gets, at least 3 inches deep in the middle. And there are some birds that they could walk in there and they could drown in there. So I put some larger stones in the bottom that I have collected, and they can stand on that and have their little bath, or you could put a little stick over it so they can stand on that. We just don't want them to drown in the bird bath. We want them to enjoy the bird bath, and they all seem to really like it. So if you really want to get a lot of birds, and I get a lot of birds at my bird bath that don't come to my bird feeders. So you did get a whole different group of birds in there, and then if you get the squirrel that's going to take the bath in there, then they all disappear. But we don't want that to happen.
Well, I've got, I'm thinking about doing this. I don't know if it's a great idea, but I've got, those citronella candles you can burn to keep the mosquitoes at bay. So I've got 2 of those on my balcony out there. So when they get burned down all the way, I'm going to get the puck of wax out of there, clean it off, fill that with water, kind of hang it over my balcony.
Oh, how fun.
And so you see if I get some birds, or it's a little bit too small for the squirrels to kind of bathe in.
That would be wonderful.
They can drink it though, but they won't bathe. But
That's fine.
But then the birds might be able to get on it, and we'll see how that works out.
That would be fun. I have always enjoyed having a water feature. Or even, it doesn't have to be much. Oop, got to stop and take a break here. We will be right back after this.
Let's get back to the Jan Meeuwsen Garden Show. Call the Master Gardener from DeBryun Seeds in Zeeland now at 395-1450. Once again, here's Jan Meeuwsen.
And we are back, and we've got a little bit of time here, and I just want to talk about, it seems like every day I get another thing from the state of Michigan that there's another new invasive species on the headlines here. The newest one is an aquatic one, and it is called the invasive yellow floating heart. And it used to be very common in water gardens. It is now illegal to sell it in Michigan. It's illegal to have it in Michigan, only because it's a really pretty yellow flower. I think it's got 5 petals on it, and it's got this beautiful leaves on it, and it's got kind of scallopy, wavy edges. And unfortunately, the leaves will make such a dense mat over the surface of the pond or lake or whatever it's in. No sunlight gets down, so no sunlight gets down for the fish, the reptiles, the amphibians, the natural plants that live there, and it basically blocks out everything but itself. So we need to get rid of the yellow floating heart. If you have it, or if you find it somewhere, you're kayaking down some stream and you see it, it would be best if you can go to the Michigan Midwest Invasive Species Information Network, and that's online, and it's MISIN, MySin, online. I've got an app on my phone that you can take a picture of it, and it will give you the longitude, latitude, and it will report it to them, and they'll know where it is. They have been working on a couple of spots. Most of the time, it's water professionals that are telling the state, but they really want you, if you've got any to remove it. Don't throw it into the nearest lake. You need to bag it up and get rid of it. It is an invasive species. Don't put it on your compost pile in a black garbage bag, and it needs to go out. It's an invasive species. They will pick up invasive species. We need to get rid of it. it can reproduce even if you leave just a fragment of it there. So make sure you take the whole thing out. It's just a hindrance. It's kind of like the water hyacinth that kind of packs in there so tightly that they can't. Again, it blocks out all other plants except for that. I know the state of Michigan spent, I don't know how much money, and 5,000 hours of time just pulling out all the water hyacinths that got into this one lake. That someone obviously put a water hyacinth in because they look so pretty. And that one turned into, I don't know how many, but the whole lake got involved, in the state of Michigan. Our tax dollars had to pull them all out. So, and now we're, and it's like every once in a while something comes back up. They got to go back out there and check. So let's just help them out a little bit. Keep an eye out for the really pretty yellow floating heart, the heart-shaped leaves, kind of scallopy edges. And it's a pretty little thing. It is a nasty little thing. And let us also be aware, I just looked up like the top 10 invasive species in Michigan, and I couldn't believe there's like 100, the top 10. But the spotted lanternfly, I've talked about this before. This has been found in Michigan around Detroit. We do not want this one here. This one will go on our beautiful hardwood trees and kill them, but it will also go on grapes and soft fruit and apples. And so, all the orchards around here would be completely decimated. So they're a beautiful bug as an adult. They've got red, yellow, black, tan. They've got polka dots. They've got stripes. If you see a beautiful insect, it's a beetle type thing but it doesn't fly very well. And the little tiny ones, the little nymphs, are black and white polka dots. So they're cute little things. They are deadly. So we need to, if you see them, I love it. This is spot, squish, and report. So you need to squish them. Take a picture of them so it kind of gets where they are, and do inform the Midwest Informational Network that you did find them. Or you can just call me at DeBryun's. I know who to call and talk to, and we'll get the ball rolling so they don't get established and get a foothold here in Michigan. Okay, I will be here on Tuesday morning from at 8:35 with Dan for the garden party, and I will be on between 10 and 11 on Tuesday with Gary on Talk of the Town for the Garden Hour. But I will be back here, this is the most important one, at 11:05 on next Saturday morning. I will be here. Nothing, Lord willing, I will be here for the garden show. And to answer all your questions, we talk about all the things that are happening out in the gardening world. And until 11:05 next week, go green.
You've been listening to the Jan Meeuwsen Garden Show on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com. If you wish to hear this or other programs hosted by the Master Gardener from DeBryun Seeds in Zeeland, check out the podcast section of our website, WHTC.com, and listen or download for free. The Jan Meeuwsen Garden Show is a presentation of 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.